Everyone, today I have a new video for you. The video, as you can see, is titled How to Use Admiralty Notices to Mariners. This is part 3 in the series of these videos, and previously I have made parts 1 and 2 a couple of months back. And the links to those videos are in the description section below, so you should be ideally watching those before you watch this, but you can watch it in any order. I actually stopped after parts 1 and 2 because I was not sure if anybody's interested, but I got a lot of requests from the subscribers asking me to make this video. So here it goes. I'm really not sure that people want to watch my videos or not. So I kind of sometimes just stop making the series, but I'll continue with the series because I've got a lot of feedback asking me to continue with the series that I start. So here it goes. This is part 3, and this is the last part in the series of how to use the Admiralty notices to mariners to correct the publications that are available on your ships. Alright, so let's get started. So in today's video, I will focus mainly on the sections 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8 because I've previously explained section 1 and 2 and I've talked about the Admiralty notices previously, what they are, what they're used for. So today's focus will be on sections 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 because they basically deal with the corrections to the publication. So there are a number of publications available on the bridge, and we'll be specifically talking about the ones that are included in the Admiralty Notices to Mariners, which is pretty much most of the publication. So without wasting any time, I'll start off and I'll try to show you how the corrections are done for publications. All right, and then sometime I'll talk about the chart publications as well. I'll talk about how to correct the charts as well. And I'll show you a video on how to do that as well. Hopefully one day I'll get to that as well. So we'll start with section number 3. Section number 3 actually focuses on navigational warnings. In particular, it focuses on the Mariner's Handbook 2016 edition. Here it's of course 2016 edition. Now what happens is the world is divided into a lot of nav areas. I think there are about 21 nav areas if I'm not wrong, and depending on where your ship is, of course you get navigational warnings. Now when you're transiting through different nav areas, you should ideally be subscribed to navtex warnings or similar warnings that come for particular nav areas. I'll show you what nav areas look like, and these ones particularly refer to certain nav area warnings which are included in the Mariner's Handbook. I'll show you what the Mariner's Handbook looks like also. So this is what the Admiralty Mariner's Handbook looks like, and this comprises of a lot of essential information, especially related to weather and sea conditions, so including weather, wind, sea conditions, currents and all that in particular areas, particular nav areas. The nav areas, like I said, is divided into, if I'm not wrong, about 21 odd nav areas are there. And I'll show that to you later as well. So you can see this is what a warning, or this is what a correction looks like. So you can see that the Admiralty Notice to Mariner will highlight the nav area. Right at the top is the nav area 1, which is Northeast Atlantic, and it tells you exactly what is the cancellation or what are the corrections to the nav areas you have to make. So here you can see that the number of cancellations are provided. So basically, if you have received these warnings, number 172, 173, 174, so you can see that this particular notice to mariner tells you that these warnings now no longer stand, they can be cancelled, and you can remove them from wherever you stored, or you can probably put a cross across it and write cancelled. Then you can see number 175 tells you about a new nav area warning somewhere around the Scotland east coast. And what is it all about? There are some buoys here, and there's some perimeter buoyage which has north, south, west and east cardinal buoys, so they are probably marking a particularly area. So all these things are shown here, so you should go into your Mariner's Handbook and probably cut this or use this information and cancel out the notices that have been cancelled or include the new notices that have been included. All right, so it's as simple as that. As you can see here, like I was telling you before, that the world is divided into a lot of nav areas, and as you transit these different nav areas, you get warnings about it. And now, of course, when the Mariner's Handbook is published every year, they try to update it as much as they can. But throughout the year, of course, there are a lot of warnings that come, and they cannot keep on publishing new books. So that's why they issue these notices to mariners. They issue the relevant information, the latest information, so you can take this information and correct your own book till the time the next edition is published. Alright, so some of these nav areas are lasting only for nav warnings rather last only for a few days, some for few weeks, some for few months, some for maybe years. So depending on the kind of warning, they will issue the relevant information. You may cancel out certain warnings, or you may include the new warnings if required. Try to correct the whole book even if you are not going into certain nav areas. So what many people do is they just focus on their own particular nav areas. So for example, if somebody is transiting from Australia to Japan, some officers, they just focus on nav area 10 and 11 in this case, because they say, oh, but the other nav areas are not relevant to me. But my advice to you is that if the notice to mariners is coming out, and this is not like charts, if you don't have the charts, you don't correct it. But if you have the charts, even if you are not using those charts, you must correct those charts, because firstly, it is important from a safety point of view. Secondly, the person who comes on the ship after you also finds it easier to then continue this good work, so they can find, they can trace the corrections, and they can remove or add to it as required, so nothing is left ignored. So irrespective of whether you are transiting any of these nav areas or not, whether you use this publication or not, make sure if you are carrying any chart or publication on board your ship, you should be correcting them based on the notice to mariners. Do not ignore them just because they are not in use for your particular voyage at the moment. Then we come to section number 4. Section number 4 comprises of updates to Admiralty sailing directions. Now, of course, many people these days, they say that, oh, we don't use sailing directions, but sailing directions are very relevant. They comprise of very important information, especially during passage plan. You should definitely go into Admiralty sailing directions and find out whether there is any information that may be relevant for your voyage. Sometimes it's a safety related information, sometimes it could be a procedural or an administrative requirement, like paperwork or something like that, some requirement which is very special to a particular area. So make sure you go into that. How to correct it, I'll show it to you how to correct it. So I will show you a sailing direction book. So sailing directions also, there are a number of volumes depending on the area that you go into. Here you can see we have NP2, which is nautical publication number 2, which deals with Africa, and then we have NP19 next to it, which deals with the Baltic Sea. So it is volume 2, 2018 edition. One is 2017 edition. Below you can see NP7A, which is South American Pilot, volume 4. So there are different editions depending on the, again, the areas at sea. And what you do is, I'll show you what to do. So this is what the back of a sailing direction looks like. So there are a number of sailing directions. Most of the ships carry the sailing directions which are relevant to the voyage, and not all the volumes, because there are a number of volumes. You can see here itself that this is just a small sea area of Malacca Strait, and I mean small, relatively small if you compare it to the world, but you can see how many sailing directions are relevant here. So there are almost 8 sailing directions only for this particular area of Malacca Strait and west coast of Sumatra. So that's why it's not possible to carry all the sailing directions on the ship. So they carry sailing directions only which are relevant to your voyage. And of course, if your voyage changes and you do not carry the relevant sailing direction, then you should order it, and the company will supply the relevant sailing directions. So if you're carrying all these sailing directions, you should be ideally correcting them as well. So you make sure that the correction that has been issued in the Admiralty Notice to Mariner is relevant to one of the sailing directions that you may be carrying on board. So this particular book that I took a photo of was NP44, which was dealing with Malacca Strait and West Coast. So that is why you can see it's highlighted there. So this is the back of NP44. If it was the back of NP39 or 38, that is the area that would have been highlighted. This is the back portion of the publication. The front portion of the publication, this is the first page. If you, as soon as you open the page, you see on the left side, they tell you, they give you the directions to uh, uh, correcting this book. So even if you don't remember my directions, or you don't believe in it, or you don't find it good enough for you, you can go into the book. In the very first page will tell you how to correct these books. So it's very self-explanatory. You basically take the corrections from the Admiralty Notice to Mariners, and you go into the relevant page and you either cut and paste it or you correct it with a pen, um, depending on how you want to do it, but make sure you correct it and the directions are given. The other thing that you have to do is you have to make a note of the correction here. So in a year, of course, there are about 52 notices to mariners that are issued, one for every week. And sometimes every notice to mariner will, I mean, most of the times, every notice to mariner does not have a correction for the particular sailing direction. So depending on the year's sailing direction, so you have sailing directions, the years are there for from here from 2017, 18, 19, 20, about 4 years. And after that, most likely you are issued a new sailing direction, or before that itself you are issued a new sailing direction. So as soon as you make a correction from the notice to mariner, you have to write down, you have to make a note of the correction number here and the page on which the correction was made. So that is for you to be able to trace it. This is for also for the post head control officer. If he comes on board, he or she comes on board your ship and they try to check whether you have been making the corrections, they can quickly trace it. Also for the next officer who joins the ship after you, it is easy for them also to trace the corrections or remove it or correct it or continue to update it in future. So you have to not only make the correction in the book, but also you have to note down the correction number, and in this cases, in the cases of publications, write on the page number. So it is easy to trace. Just don't write down the correction number, also write down the page number. All right, some people also go ahead and they also write down the row number or something like that, or a column number, but you can just write down the correction number and the page number under the particular year. So if it is for 2019, you should be writing it under 2019. If the Admiralty Notice Maintenance was issued this year or 2018, then that is where you should have been making the corrections. All right, so easy for everybody to trace. So you can see here, so for example, if a correction was given to you, you just go into the relevant section of the correction of the Admiralty Notice. So the Admiralty Notice to Mariner will tell you where this correction is from. All right, so you can just go into that relevant section of the sailing direction, make the correction in the book. You can see here, these are the text of the book. You can just make a correction here. You can cut and paste the relevant section from the Admiralty Notice to Mariner and cut and paste it here, or you, if it's a small correction, just cross it off with a pen and correct it. Use a red pen if you want to, so that anybody who's following up the correction can easily identify it. And that's pretty much it. You go back there and you can write down the correction number that you get from the Admiralty Notice to Mariner and the page number of the book. All right, so some people also write the column number or the row number or something like that. So it's up to you whether you want to go into those details or not. But as long as you write down the correction number and the page number, that should be good enough. And make the correction conspicuous enough for people to see. It should be able to see it, or make it noticeable enough. So either use a highlighter or use a red pen or cut and paste the correction from the notice to mirror and paste it here. This is pretty much the basic of correcting all publications, but I'll take you through all the different publications, but you will see all of them have the normal pattern of correction. So if I come into section 5 of the Admiralty Notice to Mariner, this comprises of updates to Admiralty list of lights and fog signals. Now again, this is another kind of publication. So you have your sailing directions, which are dealt with in section 4. You have your Admiralty list of lights and fog signals, which are dealt with in section 5. And again, there are a number of publications in this type of the Admiralty list of lights and fog signals as well, depending again on the sea area. So you can see here, this is NP number 74. The correction number is right on the left hand side column. You can see that is the correction number. Then the correction itself is provided in the column next to it. So we are going from left to right. All right. Then the position of the correction is provided as well. You can go into the list of lights and fog signals, put this correction there, or you can go into the chart itself and correct it there. All right. Ideally, you should be doing both. And then of course the correction is given, the flashing is given, the light characteristics are given, and it tells you exactly what is the correction. So you should be going there, comparing the information from the information given to the Admiralty Notice to Mariners, and make the correction. All right, so the left hand side column, the extreme left hand side column, gives you the correction number. This is the one that you normally put on the first page of the publication, the book itself. And then you can put the page number on which you corrected. You can also put the chart number on which you corrected if you have gone ahead and done that as well. Ideally, you should be doing that because these Admiralty list of lights are relevant to the lights that you see at sea during a passage, and they provide you with the relevant information there. This is what the Admiralty list of lights and fog signal publication looks like. So you can see this is NP83. volume K. The edition is 2018 and 19. This volume in particular deals with Western Pacific Ocean, south of the equator, and it includes Bismarck, Solomon Islands, Coral and Tasman Seas. And again, like I said, depending on the sea areas, you have different publications for Admiralty and radio lights, Admiralty lights, and fog signals. And again, depends on which areas you are transiting. Sometimes some company provides you with as many publications as they can, but sometimes it's not possible to provide you with all the publications because again, the whole world cannot be included in all the one publication. So there are a number of volumes of these. So if you have this volume, whether you are using it or not, or whether you are transiting these areas during the voyage or not, you should ideally be correcting it. So like I told you before, I just am trying to repeat it. If you have any publications or chart on board your ship, irrespective of whether you are using it or not, whether it's relevant to your particular voyage or not, you should be correcting it. That's it. All right, because the post-head control officer will not listen to any excuses that, oh, I am not using this, so I didn't correct it. They are going to fine your ship, and they are going to fine you heavily. Sometimes they may even detain your ship. In US and Europe, they even detain the ship if they find the publications have not been corrected, irrespective of whether you are transiting those areas or not. All right, so that's why I'm repeating it. This is the back of the Admiralty list of light and fog signals publications. So you can see there are a number of volumes, there are a number of publications. It's not possible for the shipping companies to provide all their ships with all the volumes. So ideally, you may be carrying only a few of these depending on the areas that you are transiting. That's good, easy for you to correct, because all these publications, if it was available to you, it would be very difficult for you to correct these publications. Again, similar to sailing directions, you can see, because I took the photo from the volume NP 83, nautical publication 83, which dealt with the coral, the Tasman Sea, the Bismarck and Solomon Islands. You can see that area is highlighted here, and you can see that is the volume from which I've taken a photo, so that is why that volume is highlighted. So similarly, you can go and choose which is the Admiralty list of lights and fog signals which is relevant to your voyage. If you suddenly change your voyage and you start going into, let's say, the African coast, then you will order the NP 77 volume D, or if you are going into South American coast, you will order NP 80. So you get the idea. You can clearly see the areas are being covered by which areas were being covered by which Admiralty list of lights and fog signals. Again, on the very first page, like I told you, it's very similar to your sailing directions. Above this record of updates, you have the directions given to you as to how to correct the book. So even if you don't believe me and you don't like my explanation, you can just go and read it there. And similarly, you have to put the correction details here. So you can see here the year number is missing. Doesn't matter, you put the year. So you can put the year. If the year number is missing, make sure you put the year and use one column for a particular year, then the next column for the other year, unless you of course run out of space. If you run out of space, you can just attach a page to it. All right, you can just make up a page like this and attach the page to it, so you can continue with the corrections. But make sure you note down the correction number, you note down the page on which it was corrected, and if you want, you can put in more details, but ideally this is good enough so that the flag state control can come and trace your correction, and also the other officers can come and do so, the master can come and do so, so you can prove that you have been correcting the publications. That is the whole idea behind it. So documentation also is very important, apart from the fact that you are correcting it. Some people do a great job in correcting it, correcting the publications and chart, and they forget to document it, and that is going to put you in trouble. So you have to have a balance, you have to do both. All right. Again, this is what the inside of a Admiralty list of light and fog signal looks like. So you can see here the light number is given, and so the light number is given. So when I say the correction number from the Admiralty list of Admiralty Notices to Mariners, basically you put that number there. All right, so you put that, the light that you have corrected, you can put that number there, and you write down the page on which you corrected as well. So that is what I meant by the correction number. So the correction number is a reference to the light number in this case, or it could be a reference to the particular correction. So in case of, they can trace the correction. So if you have the correction number which directly reflects the light number, you can trace it and quickly come here and check that yes, you have done the correction. Again, you can cut and paste the whole thing from the Admiralty Notice to Mariners and put it here, or you can make the corrections in a red pen. Make sure that it's noticeable, it's highlighted, and it is easy for people to trace if it's required. And then I move into section number 6, which is updates to Admiralty list of radio signals. Now, Admiralty list of radio signals is also known as ALRS, and again ALRS has a number of volumes. Here you can see the correction to volume number 1, NP281 volume 1 is given, and similarly corrections are given for different volumes. You don't need to have a correction for all the volumes every time. You will have a correction only if it is relevant. All right, so you can see here the correction is given to you, so you can see even the direction is given to you that you can delete the entry and replace by. So you can see the page number and the country for which the correction is there. Everything is detailed there, so you can delete the entry and replace it with this particular section. You can cut and paste it, or and ideally that is what they're telling you to do, so you should do that. You can cut and paste it, and again it's very similar to what I've shown you before. So this is what the Admiralty list of radio signal looks like. You can see this is from the Americas, the Far East, and the Oceania, and this particular volume focuses on radio aids to navigation, DGPS, legal time radio signals, electronic position fixing systems. All right, so different volumes have different rules, and this is not as per has different rules. So I'll show you what I mean. So you can see here again the areas are much broader in this case. So that is what I was going to tell you, that the radio signals, the Admiralty list of radio signals, they cover much larger geographical areas. So one publication covers quite a lot of geographical area, very different from the previous two publications that I've shown you, which are much more in number. So you may be carrying all of these radio signals on your ship. If you do, make sure you correct it, or you may be carrying just the ones which is relevant to your voyage, because you can see it covers a massive geographical area. So you may not be carrying all the publications, but if you do, it goes without saying, you have to correct it. Again, it's very similar to the previous publication. You see the directions are given here for updating the volume, and you have to maintain a record of updates. Again, the year number is not given here, so you write down the year number and you write down the correction number, the particular correction that you carried out and the page on which you carried out, so easy for people to trace. So I will not repeat again all the information I've said before. It's pretty much a repetition, and you guys are going to start abusing me now as to, Sam, you keep on saying the same thing and it's getting boring. So again, this is the better photo of what I was showing you before. You can see a lot of space is given to you. You can use all this space, but even if you run out of this space, you can put a additional page and continue with the corrections, but make sure you document the correction that you are doing. This is what the inside of a ALRS looks like. One of the volumes, you can see the information is detailed by the country, which is in alphabetical order. So this country, of course, is Argentina. You can see the information here. So based on the correction you have to make, just go into the publication. You can cut out sections. You can just delete these sections. Don't cut out from the book. So delete the section if it is no longer applicable. Delete it with the pen, and then cut out from the Admiralty Notice to Mariner and paste it on top of this information. This is just an example I'm showing you. Depends on the correction that you have to do. So you can paste it on top of this, so it's easy for people to trace it, and then make a note of it on the first page of the book. Now we come to the second last section, which is updates to miscellaneous Admiralty nautical publications. So of course, other than Admiralty list of radio signals, other than Admiralty list of lights and fog signals and sailing directions and nav area warnings, you have other publications as well. All right, it could be tide tables, it could be something else, and the corrections will be issued in this particular section, section number 7 of the Admiralty Notices to Mariners. Now the Admiralty Notice to Mariners I was using to teach you guys about this had no updates to any miscellaneous nautical publication, but if there was, it would be in this section here. For example, I'll show you tide tables. So you have Admiralty tide tables, and again these are as per geographical areas. You can see this one is NP volume 201A, volume 1A, 2017 edition. This covers the United Kingdom, the English Channel, and all that. So if you're transiting these areas, you will be carrying these tide tables. So if you have any corrections regarding this publication, you will be making it to this publication here. The idea is again very similar. You can see here the publications, the volumes of the tide tables are issued as per the geographical areas. There are a number of volumes. You can see this is just the English Channel and the UK side of the world, and this itself has a lot of volumes detailed here. So if you're transiting these areas, you can see a lot of these volumes become applicable to you. So volume 2 and volume 1A, volume 1B. So there are 3 volumes which are covering it. All right. So and you will keep the volumes which are relevant to you. In case if the additional volumes which are there, you have to correct it as well. Again, you can see the contents page is here, what all it includes. So you can see the information that is provided in the tide tables and what all you have to correct for. So tide tables, I don't go into the information provided in tide tables. What I wanted to show you was, again, it's very similar to other publications and you have to correct it very similar to the other publications. Make a note of the correction, write it under the year number, and you can cut and paste information, or you can use the pen and highlight the information or cut it out and make notes. This is what the inside of a tide table looks like. So sometimes some of this information may be required to be changed, and you will do, or you will make the changes as the notice to mariner explains it. So notice to mariners, using it is very simple, very straightforward. They pretty much tell you what to do. You just have to follow the instructions. It's very self-explanatory. It's made for the dumbest people on the earth, and there's nothing much I have to tell you about the correction. You just read the correction, go into the page of the publication and make the change. The most important thing, like I told you, is documenting that you have been correcting these publications. Finally, I come to the last section, and I'm sorry for making the video so long. Don't get angry with me. I had a lot to cover. I didn't want to make a part 4 of the Admiralty Notices to Mariners. I thought I will make it in one go and finish all the parts. So this is the last section of the Admiralty Notices to Mariners, and this deals with Admiralty Digital Services. Now, of course, right from the time I was sailing, there was not much digital services available on the ship except for electronic charts and plotters and all that. Now, of course, you have a lot of these digitally available to you, so that's why the notice to mariners and the corrections also have to have the option of digitally correcting the publications and the charts and the other relevant information. So you can see here, I don't want to read through all this, because otherwise you'll say, oh, you're just reading through this. Anybody can read through this, and you would be right in saying so. So I've just highlighted the important information that this section provides related to ENC, that is electronic navigation charts, and ECDIS, which is electronic chart display information systems, and AVCS as well. So all this, so you must be asking me, what is AVCS? That's a good question, buddy. I should have thought about it. I don't know the answer. I'll probably find out and let you know. But all the related information regarding digital publications are put here. So you can see the safety notices, the electronic navigation charts, which have been temporarily withdrawn from AVCS, and then it goes on. So I've highlighted the important bit here. You can see that, and you don't have to read through all that, but if it's anything is relevant to you, you can find the information under that. The important bits and pieces I have highlighted here, of course, and you can pretty much, it's self-explanatory, but I want to tell you about there are services available by the Admiralty, and of course your company has to pay for it, because if your company is being paying for it, then of course all these corrections are provided digitally as well. You may download it. So AVCS, I just found out, sorry guys, Admiralty Vector Chart Services. So that's good. I learned something new today. So AVCS stands for Admiralty Vector Chart Services. And so of course all these information is also provided digitally. You may also go and download these corrections. So you can see information regarding temporary and preliminary notice to mariners, and other important stuff like products that support digital navigation, or there are readme files. You can download the corrections straight off. Now when I was there, we used to get those CD-ROMs. We used to just download, just put it in the CD-ROMs. These days of course you can get USBs or CDs as well, and you can just download the corrections. It's much faster. But if you're carrying any kind of backup paper charts, you have to continue correcting those charts as well, guys. You can't just ignore it just because you are on electronic navigation. All right, so there's a lot of talks, of course, of replacing electronic charts, paper charts, and having two systems on board. Some ships are already doing that, but my point here is, if you are carrying any kind of publication, hard book publication, or charts that are paper charts, you have to continue correcting those as well. Now all the information is provided here regarding the electronic charts, and where you can download the corrections from. I'll keep going. So you can see here regarding digital publications as well, they have provided you all the information, what is available, what is the latest correction or the volume available that you can go and download. You can get DVDs or you can get CDs these days. You can also download the corrections directly from website information that is provided to you. Of course, like I said, the company has to be paying some kind of a subscription fee for it, and if you are carrying this, then of course it's much easier. You can request for additional information. For that, the email is provided to you, and that is pretty much what section 8 deals with. So you have status of Admiralty Digital Services here as well. So what is the current status of Admiralty Digital Services? When was it last issued? So this is for you to check that whether you have the latest digital service available to you or not. So again, if you have the latest available, that is what you should be aiming for. So you can see the latest version, when it was issued, and reissue date, and the original disk 1, 2, 3, 4, all that is provided to you. So if you're carrying any of these, you should be carrying the latest edition of it. So that is what this section is all about. All right, so finally the supported Admiralty Digital software versions, the information about that is given as well. So this is the software, just like if you have an iPhone, you know, you have the latest version of the iTunes. So similarly, you have to have the latest version of the software, because the latest software will support the technology, it will support the corrections. If you are working on an old software, a lot of things will not be upgraded, which is not safe for you, because you are using that system to navigate your ship. So that is the reason you have to keep on updating the software. So sometimes people send show technicians on board and they update the softwares for you. Sometimes you may just download it or digitally upload it, digitally just upgrade it. It's as simple as the iTunes software that you can, if you have been using iTunes, you know, it's very simple, very easy, just replaces the old version and updates the new version. So that's pretty much it. So guys, I'll stop the video here now. I know you guys are already upset in that Sam, this is too long a video, we are getting bored. So I'll stop the video here. I hope you found these series useful. If you did, please let me know, and also let me know what are the other videos you want me to make, whether these videos are beneficial. Sometimes I really doubt whether I should continue making these videos or not, whether it really benefits. So let me know guys. I look forward to your feedback and comments on how to improve these videos. Bye for now, and good luck with your studies.